Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat. Resolves.
Right.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello everyone, my name is DJ and you're watching the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms is the brand new Dungeons & Dragons themed magic set, and the legendary creatures found inside are spectacular. One of them that is particularly flavorful and powerful is Volo Guide to Monsters. Volo is 2 green-blue for a 3/2 legendary human wizard. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. A copy of a creature spell becomes a token. Volo's flavor is spectacular. He loves to talk about monsters and loves tons of different monsters in your deck, but nothing that he's seen before, so your creature types need to be all different. Well, for the most part. I love this untribal, and I love the push and pull of including certain creature types over others. Let's take a look at Volo Guide to Monsters and find out which creatures are good enough to make it into your deck. Let's start off by examining 2 key areas to starting off with Volo. The first thing is ramp. Volo costs 4, and you don't want to exactly play him into a vulnerable position because you love the value that you get when you cast triggers and double them up. So I would suggest all the best types of acceleration out there. Of course, there is an advantage to running acceleration on creatures because there will be other creature synergies in your deck. First up, we have Birds of Paradise and Gilded Goose. What? They're both birds! I've already broken the deck. This is fine, actually, and it comes to the heart of understanding how to cheat on Volo's creature type restriction. See, Birds of Paradise and Gilded Goose, they serve the exact same purpose, early game ramp. And if we actually draw one of them in the late game, we're not going to be super disappointed that we can't double them up. We're like, oh no, Gilded Goose is in the graveyard, Birds of Paradise, I can't get 2 copies, unbelievable. That just doesn't happen. There's some more creature ramp with Secure Tribe Elder, Ornithopter of Paradise, and Sylvan Caryatid. We do want some creature-based ramp because we have other creature synergies in the deck, so that can help us out a little bit. Secure Tribe Elder is a great one. I love getting lands on the battlefield. And there isn't too much trade-off with these creature types, Snake, Shaman, Thopter, Plant. I would say that the biggest trade-off would be Icefang, Quaddle, and Snake, Sky Scanner and Thopter, and Wall of Blossoms with Plant. Solemn Simulacrum is a solid card. It's the best golem that we could play. We love doubling up that trigger. And then Peregrine Drake. This is a card that you can cast for free with all of that awesome untapping ability. But if you create a token copy, you can do fancy tap your mana, untap your mana, and generate 5 mana. This is the kind of deck that can just spew creatures onto the battlefield, and cards like Peregrine Drake can give us really big explosive turns. This deck has a ton of card draws so that we can get and keep our forward momentum. Fibblethip the Lost has a straw up a card. Homunculus! Very few homunculi out there, so this is a great card for that. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, is 3 mana for this amazing trigger. I don't even care if it's going into the graveyard. Drawing a card, putting a land on the battlefield, doubling that up in the late game is amazing. Now I know both of those are legendary creatures, and that's fine. We care a lot more about the crit trigger than about the token sticking around. Now there's a lot of cards out there that just say, play this, draw a card, but a lot of them have really difficult creature types, you know, elves or elementals or something like that. So we've gone on to one that has a unique creature type, which is Serulf's Packmate. 3 and a green for a 3/3 wolf, enters the battlefield, draw a card. You can pay in installments, so Fortalin played a little bit later. Normally we do not want to pay 4 mana to draw a card, but so many of the other creatures out there infringe upon other creature types that I'm kind of excited to play this wolf. I think it'll be fine. Next up is Beast Whisperer. 2 green for a 2/3 elf druid. That's right, we're using up some really important creature types with this card. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So there are a lot of elf druids out there and a lot of elves out there, and you can look and find out which one you want to include in your deck. I would love to have a Llanowar Visionary in my deck. It ramps and draws cards. It's exactly what we want. But I think Beast Whisperer is important enough to use on that slot. I also think it's important for you to know when we're using important creature types. You know, we're checking those boxes, and there's a lot of competition at the Beast Whisperer slot. Of course, we can supplement our creature count with support cards like the Great Henge. Gives us the ramp, the card draw, does a little bit of everything. We can also supplement our creatures with more legendaries. They don't really synergize with Volo as much as we would like, but Essex Fractal Bloom and Adrix and Nev Twincasters can synergize with that token creation. I also like doubling up your cast by doubling up Volo himself. Spark Double. It's an illusion, and it can come down on the battlefield and copy anything, but it can also copy your Volo, giving you more triggers. Glasspool Mimic is also super interesting. So on the stack, it's a Shapeshifter Rogue, and that's a pretty unique creature type, so you could get 2 of those. And then when it comes into play, it can turn into whatever you want. That does leave us free to cast more Shapeshifters, and as they look on the battlefield, they won't see the Shapeshifter Rogue, they'll see whatever we copied, the bird or something like that. So that means we could run multiple Shapeshifters. The downside is that if anyone ends up killing our Glasspool Mimic and it ends up in the graveyard, Volo does check there. That would mean that a Phyrexian Metamorph that we play wouldn't trigger with Volo. So you're being a little bit risky by playing multiple Shapeshifters. Speaking of playing multiple creatures, Dryad. There are 2 Dryads that I desperately want to play both of because they are so good. Bramble Sovereign. This card just synergizes with the whole deck. It's 2 green for a 4/4. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, you can pay 1 and a green. And if you do, create a token copy of that creature. So this does everything that our commander wants to do, just there's a little bit of taxation. And so this could be a second redundant effect. It is so good. I need to play it. Except Tendershoot Dryad. Okay, at each upkeep, they create a 1/1. But you're going to get the City's Blessing pretty soon, and that means that each Tendershoot Dryad will pump your Saprolings +2/+2. So you're going to be producing 5/5 Saprolings on every single upkeep. Like, people need to deal with that right away. So it is such a good card too. I might just have to run both. You know, it's a 100-card deck. What are the odds that I'm going to run into both of them? And do you know what else? If I do run into the Bramble Sovereign first and then the Tendershoot Dryad, I can just pay 1 and a green and copy it. Done. Solved it. By the way, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, I thought it was a really unique creature type, Nymph, and I could just include it easily. Nope, it's a Dryad, so get out of here. Not Nymph. If you like tokens and want to create some of the most powerful ones, Fairy Artisans is for you. This Fairy Artificer, pretty good creature type. There's a 2-drop Mana Dork Fairy that's pretty tempting, but oh, come on. Fairy Artisans is so cool. It just generates these big tokens from your opponents, and you get all of those great enter the battlefield effects. Speaking of stealing things from your opponents, Wandering Archaic is a new staple in our format. I love taxing our opponents, especially if I double these up and you have to pay 4 to cast your instant sorcery spells. You're not paying 4. I'm just getting a copy of your spells for sure. There is a little bit of weakness when it comes to interaction. You know, some of the best cards out there that get rid of artifacts and enchantments are on elves or beasts. So I've gone with Thrashing Brontodon. It's a dinosaur. That's okay. Ukitubi Orangutan, if you want to get rid of... That's an old school shout out. If you want to play with Ukitubi Orangutan, this is the deck for you. Because so many other cards have outshadowed it over the years, but they're all really relevant creature types. This is just Ape. Bam! Right in the deck. And for getting rid of your opponent's creatures, Amphin Mutineer is a Salamander Pirate. So that's a really great combination of creature types too. Okay, so there are 2 mechanics that work very well with Volo. The first one is Evoke. Evoke is spectacular because you are still casting it for its evoke cost. So let's say you're evoking a Muldrifter. Okay? 2 and a blue, you evoke Muldrifter. It's being cast, and so Volo sees that and casts a second copy of Muldrifter. They'll both enter the battlefield. You'll draw 4 cards. One of them is still evoked, so you'll have to sacrifice the original card, but the token copy sticks around. Wait, 3 mana, draw 4, you get a 2/2 flyer left over? Boom. So good. And the same works for any other evoke creature. Wave Sifter, how about Aether Snipe? You pay 1 blue, You get a 4/4 and you bounce 2 things back to your opponent's hand. So good. One thing that really stinks though is that Evoke puts them into your graveyard, and your graveyard is a place that Volo is checking. I mean, maybe you're running like a Scavenging Ooze or some other graveyard interaction so you can exile it and then get value off of your next elemental. The next mechanic that works phenomenally is Mutate. Mutate is an alternate casting cost, and you are casting the spell, so Volo sees that and it will copy it up. Both the copy and the original will mutate onto the same creature, but a lot of times you get extra benefit when you mutate on a creature multiple times. Also, basically your whole deck is filled with mutate targets because you have creatures ramping you, and none of them are humans because Volo's the only human. So that is amazing. So not only do you get multiple instances of mutate in a single cast, a lot of times they build off of one another. I'll go into a little bit of detail later. Another thing too is that because you can mutate under another creature, you can keep casting these beasts over and over again, and you've kind of hidden them underneath a more relevant creature type. But I mean, if we're talking about mutate, I want to talk about Auspicious Sterix. It's 5 and a green to mutate, and it says whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile X permanent cards, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. Put those permanent cards onto the battlefield. So if you imagine a creature, Auspicious Sterix mutates on it. You get a trigger and get 1 permanent. Great. Volo also has a copy of it coming onto that creature too. So that will come onto the Auspicious Sterix. It will see 2 mutations on it, and it will trigger for 2 more permanents. But the first copy of Sterix sees the second one coming on, and it also says, I've been mutated on twice, so you'll get 2 more triggers. That's 5 triggers from Auspicious Sterix. It is crazy. It's exciting and crazy and awesome. By the way, another all-star in the Mutate deck is Scute Swarm, because if you mutate on top of a Scute Swarm, you will create new copies of that big buffed creature, not just Scutes. So that's a pretty cool interaction right there. Now, when playing this deck, ramp is incredibly important because your deck is very delicate. It goes off like crazy with Volo on the battlefield, but without it, you are just playing good creatures, which is fine, but you want to go crazy in this commander deck. Okay, you also need protection. Volo is very vulnerable, and when people figure out what crazy stuff you can do, it's gonna die. So you need that instant speed interaction. You need to hold stuff up. But I have had so much fun with this deck. I think that you're gonna like it a lot. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Just another reminder that this video is sponsored by Cubamajigs. Cubamajigs have a brand new Kickstarter. Click on the link in the description. It'll take you over there. If you are interested in great storage options for your commander decks, for your cubes, for just cards going around, if you care about organization, head on over there because you're gonna get organized and your collection's gonna look beautiful doing it. Cubamajigs' new Kickstarter is only for a limited time, so head on over there now. I also want to thank Cool Stuff Inc. They're the sponsor of the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. And if you use the coupon code JUMBO5, you'll save 5% off your order. I also want to thank my patrons. They're amazing and spectacular, and they make this channel happen. Thank you, patrons. Please let everyone know your secret Volo tech in the comments down below. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.